Hello, you guys know me as that Spidey guy. You guys can just call me Spidey. Today I'm going to be walking you through my Warlock's build for Beyond Light coming in November. I decided to do this video because I haven't made a video in a while, and I thought this might be useful for some of you that are trying to get prepared for Beyond Light and maybe don't know where to get started. This build is meant for PvP. I do not take my PvE builds as seriously as I do with my PvP builds. But let's get into this. Currently, the max power on any of my armor pieces is either 1360 or 1310. And then same with my weapons, or they're uncapped because they're exotics. So I have been trying to work more exotic primaries into my loadouts, such as the Last Word, Thorn, or Sunshot, because it's a lot easier to farm for a good legendary special weapon because it's mostly the traits that you're focused on rather than all of the perks in general, unlike primaries, which you need to try and get good perks in everything, such as this Dire Promise. This is actually a very good Dire Promise, and it is something that I will swap to for like in Trials of something when there's heavy round and I need to pull Tractor Cannon to shut down a super or something. But yeah, I would highly recommend using more exotic primaries and focus more on legendary special and legendary heavy weapons. Omniscient Eye comes from the Garden of Salvation raid. It drops from the final chest of the raid, and I believe it can drop from the secret chests throughout the raid. There's 2 of them. After you have gotten the initial drop, I could be incorrect on that, but I believe that is the case. The nice thing about Omniscient Eye is since it comes from Garden of Salvation, it has a 1360 power cap, and you can get some very good rolls. Mine is pretty mediocre. What I would recommend is probably Snapshot Mulligan. Snapshot is in the 4th column, and then pretty much anything in the 3rd column is usable besides Genesis. Genesis isn't going to do anything in PvP, but as long as you have Snapshot on this thing, it's going to treat you well. Obviously, look for range perks. Mine has Hammer Forge and Accurized Rounds, which gives it a little bit more bullet magnetism at range, which is very nice. And then I just use Temptation's Hook as my heavy weapon because it behaves like Bolt Caster from Destiny 1, except it has the added benefit of having Vorpal Weapon in Destiny 2, which means that it can kill supers very easily in PvP with only 2 or 3 ticks of the Arc Storm from the cast. And then Last Word, my main primary, is a very good since they buffed Hipfire Grip. Before they buffed Hipfire Grip, it was in a nerf state where you would do reduced precision damage whenever you aim down sights. It would go from 69 damage to 51 per crit, and then it does 39 to the body no matter if you're aiming down sights or hip firing. And before, it was extremely difficult to use before they buffed Hipfire Grip. And ever since then, it has been a lot more consistent on mouse and keyboard. Before that, it was really good on controller in the first nerf, in the first iteration. So the nice thing about Last Word is it allows me to main the sniper rifle, which is one of the most... Snipers are easily one of, if not the most powerful special weapon in Destiny, no matter what PvP mode you are in. So that's my weapon loadout. Let's go through my armor loadout. I have a couple different... This is my main set, because I do main Last Word Snipe. I do switch to Thorn on a longer range map, but for the most part, Last Word Snipe. I have a... On my helmet, I do not run an ability mod or a stat mod. I use enhanced hand cannon targeting just to make the Last Word that much more consistent, and then sniper rifle targeting so that I can buff my ability to snipe a little bit. Enhanced hand cannon targeting is something I would highly recommend if you want to use the Last Word on mouse and keyboard. It just makes it a little bit more consistent. On OPHIDIAN aspects, you notice that I do not have these set to void because of the increased ready and reload speed, I do not feel the need to run Enhanced Hand Cannon Loader on Ophidian Aspect. Instead, what I run is a recovery mod, and then I run Enhanced Impact Induction so I can get more grenade energy. Since I main Top Tree Dawnblade, this allows me to use Heat Rises more often, which allows you to consume your grenade to get a boost to inner accuracy. The nice thing about Ophidian Aspects, though, is I can use them on any subclass. It doesn't really matter what. I can use them on Stormcaller, I can use them on Voidwalker, I can use them on any of the skill branches. And the nice thing about this build right here, and all the exotics I use on a regular basis, such as Karnstein Armlets and Transversive Steps, is I'll be able to use them with the new Stasis subclass for Warlocks, because since Stasis is going to have more customization in the subclasses, obviously they're going to be most likely the meta for a little while until the other subclasses get their own customization added. So using subclass-neutral exotics is very highly recommended if you want to start getting your armor loadout ready now before Beyond Light. And then on my chest piece, I run a Discipline mod with Enhanced Unflinching Sniper Aim. Void, obviously, so I can have the Enhanced Unflinching Sniper Aim. Yet again, another Discipline mod with Sniper Rifle Scavenger and Enhanced Hand Cannon Dexterity, just so that I can pull out the last word that much quickly if I am a little bit too close to be using a Sniper Rifle. I can pull out the last word very quickly. And then on my Bond, I run double remote connection to make up for the fact that I only have Tier 5 Intellect. This more than makes up for it. Tier 5 Intellect gives me a 4.5 minute super cooldown, but with double remote connection, if I get a few snipes, that's easily down to 4 minutes or less. Let me explain my stat splits a little bit. I try to go for as little mobility as possible on my Warlock, because Warlocks suffer with higher mobility, because mobility increases your jump height. And if you increase your jump height, if you're trying to Warlock Surf, or this applies to Titans too, if you're trying to Warlock Surf or Titan Skate, if you jump higher up off the ground, that's longer. It takes longer for you to come back down and get another boost of momentum from your jump. So the shorter your hops are, the faster you can end up going, so you can move across the map faster. This is exacerbated if you Icarus Dash Skate on Warlock, because this allows you to stay closer to the ground so you can use your jump ability more often. I run Tier 5 Resilience. I used to run Tier 6 a lot more, but I've noticed that Thorn isn't as common as it used to be for some reason. I think more people are moving towards Dire Promise, I've noticed, but Tier 6 Resilience would allow you to survive the 2 crit with Soul Devourer from Thorn, and you would not burn out. But again, Thorn isn't as common as it used to be, so I've dropped it down to Tier 5 so I can survive a high-impact body shot from a sniper rifle with any low-tier damage buff, like any of the Striker Titan damage buffs, or an Empowering Rift, or high-energy fire from one of the Charged with Light mods. Tier 100 recovery for obvious reasons. The faster you can get your health back, the sooner you can re-engage. Not to mention I'm on a Warlock, so I have max Rift cooldown. I run Tier 6 Discipline, so I can have my grenade more often to consume and deny areas. Warlocks have some of the best grenades. Since I main Top Tree Dawnblade, I typically use Solar Grenade, so that if I'm not trying to Sky Snipe, I can use the Solar Grenade to deny heavy or deny certain areas of the map unless my opponent wants to take significant amounts of damage. Plus, Solar Grenade does burn damage after they exit the grenade, which is very nice because you can keep track of them through walls. Tier 5 Intellect, I would not recommend going below Tier 4 Intellect if you're trying to play PvP, just because supers are so strong right now. The more supers you can get, the better you're going to end up doing. I would not recommend going below Tier 4 Intellect. And then Tier 6 Strength, because, again, Warlocks have some of the best ability melees, such as Celestial Fire. Unfortunately, a while ago, Warlocks got their melee range buffed to make up for the fact that it was slower, which was nice, but I've noticed that it causes some problems with server connections, because sometimes you'll melee from farther away and it feels more inconsistent than it was before. And Ophidian Aspects doesn't really help with that. I've noticed that with Ophidians and the increased base melee range on Warlock, it will whiff more often. So it's something to be careful if you're specifically looking for melee builds on Warlock. The tier 6 strength is not really something I spec into, but I kind of take advantage of it with the enhanced impact induction, so I can throw my Celestial Fire and get a large chunk of my grenade energy back. I believe it's somewhere between a quarter and a third. But the nice thing is, with this pretty neutral stat split and then my neutral armor setup, I can use it on any subclass I want. I could use it on Devour Warlock. I could use it on Nova Warp. I could go Top Tree Stormcaller, because Storm Grenades are excellent, Pulse Grenades are excellent, Arc Bolts are also great with my tier 6 discipline, and then my added cooldown from enhanced impact induction. So yeah, that is my Warlock's build for Beyond Light. I do need to farm a little bit more for armor, because again, my chest piece, my boots, and my bond are all 1310, not 1360. The highest armor pieces you can get right now are 1360. These come from you can get 1360 armor from any raid in the game, or the Prophecy Dungeon. And then I believe most of the vendors have 1360 armor. Anything that comes from this season, which is Season of the Arrivals, will have 1360 armor. Like, you can get 1360 armor off the Season Pass, for example. So yeah, that is my Warlock build for Beyond Light. So to just reiterate, I would recommend looking for, no matter what subclass you're trying to, or what class you're trying to prep for Beyond Light, I would recommend going for neutral exotics, such as, for example, on Warlocks, Ophidian Aspects, Currency and Armlets, and Transversive Steps are some of the best. Stag is a good option, because more rifts is never a bad thing. Lunafaction boots can work in some builds. You can extend the range of your weapons, which is pretty nice. Let's see here. For Hunter, let's start with Hunters. Wormhouse Crown is excellent. Knucklehead Radar, I think, is slept on a little bit, because having your radar while you're aiming down the sights of any weapon, especially snipers, is very good. Khepri Sting is very good, because it gives you wall hacks for the low cost of your melee ability. However, this is specific to Night Stalker, and specifically, it works best on either the Invisible Smoke tree, Way of the Pathfinder, or the Spectral Blades tree. Dragon Shadow is excellent, because while Wraith Metal Mail is active, it gives you plus 50 to your mobility stat, so you only need a spec into mobility to tier 5, or up to 59. Sixth Coyote is pretty good, because 2 dodges is never a bad thing. Stompies, obviously, those are the meta exotic for Hunters. Bombardiers are pretty good if you play aggressively with like a shotgun or something. You shotgun somebody, doesn't quite kill him, you dodge to get away from them if they're shotgunning, and the little grenade that you drop will clean them up. Frosties are decent. They're not as good as they used to be, but they're not bad. Gemini Jesters are still pretty good. I see these get a little bit of use. Taking away your enemy's radar in this game is very powerful, because radar in this game is extremely strong. For Titans, Skullfort is pretty decent, but you're also limiting yourself to Striker. And again, with any of the exotics I've recommended that are specific to a subclass, you aren't going to be able to use them more likely than not with the Stasis subclasses. So again, I'm going to mostly be recommending neutral exotics. Mask of the Quiet One is okay. One-Eyed Mask is still very good, because you get your health back and an overshield for winning your gunfight. This used to be the meta, and you were literally shooting yourself in the foot if you weren't using it. Synthesteps aren't too bad. More melee range, and then occasionally getting more damage on your melee is nice. Titan's Ramparts are very strong. I use these on my Titan quite frequently. It's very strong if you snipe or you have someone on your team that likes to snipe, because you can set them up for a quick pick. The barricades do not last as long. However, you're not staying behind the barricade. You're using it to take a couple pot shots and then move on. Heart of Inmost Light is excellent. It can allow your sticky grenades to one-shot or your lightning grenades on Striker Titan, and it's just really good for if you like to juggle your abilities. Dune Marches, obviously, you probably see a lot of people using these because more movement is never a bad thing, not to mention the arc damage that you change to other people upon meleeing one person. Antaeus wards are still good, but not as good as they once were because they no longer grant super energy. It says that it does, but that's a bug. And you can no longer spam the invulnerability shield. Phoenix Cradle is good, but again, it's very specific. Not only is it only a Sunbreaker exotic, it's only for the Sunspot Sunbreaker, so that you would not be able to use this with one of the Stasis subclasses in Beyond Light. So, yep, I think that covers everything. So, if you're looking to get prepped for Beyond Light, I would highly recommend doing the Master Nightfalls. They drop Masterwork materials very readily, so that you can increase the energy and put more mods in. They also drop more exotics, so that you can kind of farm for exotics. If you're looking for legendary armor to fill yourself out, Prophecy, the dungeon that came with this season, is farmable with pretty frequent high stat distribution gauntlets. Like these gloves I got from Prophecy. This chest piece came from Prophecy. So I would highly recommend doing Prophecy to find legendary armor to fill out the rest of your build, as well as doing raids so you can get 1360 weapons and armor as well. So anyways, I hope you guys found this helpful, and I will see you in the next one.